and welcome to the Big Apple School podcast, the weekly English show where we speak about everything under the sun. The major goal of this show is to help you improve your English and, of course, learn something new. My name's Katja, I'm your host, and today with me,
Barbara
and
Gary.
Dear listeners, you know that we here at Big Apple School believe that the sky's the limit and we want to grow and become even better. And for this, we need a little bit of your help. So let us know what you think about our podcasts, what you like or maybe dislike, what you would like to be different. Subscribe to our pages on Apple, Yandex, SoundCloud, Google, any platform where you listen to our podcast, and let us know what you think. Rate and review our podcast, give us stars, leave some comments, ask questions, and feel free to send your ideas about next episodes. We would really appreciate that. So now it's time for me to ask some questions. And Barbara, I haven't seen you for a week, and Gary, I haven't seen you for a long time. How have you been?
I mean, just look at me. You can see it's been a hard 6 weeks, or whatever. Gone through a lot. No, I'm fine. I've been good. Yeah, thanks.
What have you been up to?
Just doing the usual things. Do
we enjoy the spring, the
Oh,
sunshine?
my goodness, yes. Definitely.
Finally.
Yeah.
What about the clouds of dust everywhere?
Well, that's also kind of a Algerian feel. Yes, little desert action.
You know, so that you don't feel like you're in Siberia,
No.
Gotta feel,
Right.
different experiences. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Barbara, what about you?
Why do you ask what I've been doing? It's only been a week.
A lot can happen within a week, I should say.
Well, only
Right.
problems
Imagine
with
6 weeks.
my computer, walks to and fro from the technicians, the experts. So that was my highlight of the week.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Well,
dealing with computers.
you might have visited a theater and then I wouldn't know about that if I hadn't asked.
Right. I walked past many and said, I mused. I think I'll go in there one day.
So mind that you have about 1 month and a half left of the theater season. So in June, they usually close for the holiday, for the summer. So
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. And these longer daylight hours help it too.
Oh, yes. It's so much easier to wake up now. Oh, I love it.
Oh, yes. I will even wake up at 7 and I'll like snuggle in and go, oh, remember when it was winter?
Horrible time. Horrible time.
I remember when it was, I think it was about a week ago. Yes, all right. Give me a little more time and I won't remember winter. Yeah.
Well, that was a little bit of a memory check.
Yeah,
how
right.
good is your memory at this point? Do you remember winter?
That's right. That's still vivid.
Well, I've been counting the snow piles. So from my perspective, I see 3 little snow piles in the virus hospital across the street. And
The
then,
little virus hospital across the street.
Well,
The
there's a
quaint little virus hospital across the street.
and then the
Lovely surrounding you have.
With the little flowers in the windows and smoke coming out of the chimney.
And virus flying around.
Virus, yes, that's right. Walking on the other side of the street carefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But still, a lot can happen within a week, I mean, since we last saw each other, what have I done? I have been to my mother's dacha, so worked a lot. Really found out that hares can eat trees, and that is something I did not know, but apparently
What can eat trees?
hares,
Hares, as in
rabbits.
rabbits.
Oh,
How do you say that?
bunnies.
Yeah,
Okay.
bunnies.
Well,
Bunnies
yeah,
are more like
we thought you meant
domesticated.
Right, you
hare.
have to use words we
But how do you call the wild ones?
Well, the
They're not-
hares are the ones with the bunny rabbits that go up. Those are the hares.
Yeah, the wild
And then
ones.
the
yeah.
rabbits are the ones that go down. So it was a hare, right?
I hadn't seen that. I have only seen the poop and the chew marks on the trees. So I know it's them. I do not know about the size. But yeah, I did not know that they can chew on trees. But apparently they chewed on our apple tree.
Yeah, well, they've got bunny teeth. Have you seen their teeth?
No, I don't think I want to.
Well, they're
Do they have like shark teeth? A little bunny, but then it opens the mouth and it's
Right,
like
gigantic.
hundreds of teeth.
You only need 2 front teeth that are really strong, like beaver teeth, gopher teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I spent a weekend, in the countryside working, preparing for the summer season and planting the radish.
Oh, radishes.
Yeah.
Radish. So you're actually planting things.
Mm-hmm.
That's optimistic.
Well, I mean, it's plus
the time that you do that, you know.
it's plus 20 in a greenhouse, so
okay, in the greenhouse.
not out. Oh no, not outside yet.
Thinking, okay.
That we're gonna do in about 2 or 3 weeks, I think. So a lot of work ahead of me.
I admire people who can do that. I have no connection with getting my nails into the mud and dirt, and I have no sense of hope when I plant that seed. I don't know what's going to happen.
Barbara, we want to help you here.
Okay, it goes back to my childhood when I got seeds and nothing would sprout and it would turn brown and I would cry.
How do you call this plant that you kind of, touch and it stings you so much you can have a burn?
Yeah.
I forgot the word for it.
It's not the Venus flytrap. No.
No, because the Venus flytrap, it's like the one that kind of opens and catches the bugs.
Right.
But there is this type of, it's not grass, it's more of a plant that you touch and it stings you really badly. So, and I remember my sister decided to plant violets, cute flowers in a flower pot. And then this thing grew up.
So you have to respect all forms of life, even the ones that burn you. You can just stay away from them. Got to avoid it.
It grew instead of a violet.
Yeah.
It's very
control
hard
nature.
to respect that,
That's right. There's a lot of emotion here. Let's just...
This is obviously very controversial.
I got a little bit carried away.
That's right. That's right. Easy, ladies.
Forgive me.
Right, yes.
Well, yeah, but that's not what we're here for, to discuss, planting and everything and gardening. No, we're here to discuss etiquette and behavior norms. And I, of course, want to ask you, what is etiquette? Because, when you mention this, a lot of people would just think, oh, is it being polite and saying thank yous and please?
Yes, we're trying to have a society here.
But is it limited to that?
Gotcha.
Well, it is the way of...
Yes, pay close attention. We're trying to have a society here. Let's get with the program.
Okay, so you want us to delve further. I know it's a way of taking off your glove one finger at a time. That's etiquette.
Okay.
There's a excellent example.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you define etiquette then? Is it...
Well, I think I have my own definition here.
Oh, please share.
Yes. Which I'm sure
I
is
hoped you
not
would.
very original. Yeah, but it's it's a set of rules for social behavior, right? Kind of many rules. And one way you can describe it, it's the oil. Ready for this? Amazing imagery.
Yes.
Oil that makes the machine of human interaction work smoother.
Oh, how poetic. How
Isn't that
poetic
beautiful?
is that?
Let's just pause.
Well, it sounds like
the
Gary has been watching those 1950 government distributed videos to us Americans, teaching us how to be a good family, have etiquette, table manners, how we speak to each other, right?
You have had such videos?
Oh, yes. Gary remembers.
Oh, the look
I beg your pardon.
gave.
Barbara, I don't know that I remember
usually I'm in the
As a matter
presence
of fact.
of younger people, and now I
What are
have
you
the
trying to say
luxury.
here? Wait a minute. I resemble that remark. Yes, right, yes. Right, yes. I represent that remark.
I'll just sit quietly,
Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know that. I'll give a story here.
Oh,
This is a
this is
story
the
from.
place to-
This is actually a real story. This is from my past, my life. I didn't watch any of those government videos, obviously, unfortunately. But I had an aunt. She was actually my great aunt, my grandmother's sister.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big family. They were second generation immigrants from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma, their mother, did not speak English ever, and so forth, but spoke German. And anyway, this family, these are my grandmother's family. They were, what can we say, totally ordinary people. They would be not elite people at all. I don't know what they were doing in Europe, but they would have been, I don't know, farmers probably, maybe city people. Anyway, so generally that part of the family was very regular people. But I had one aunt of that generation who, for some reason, somehow, this would have been in the 1920s, she became a career woman.
How dare she?
Well, no, this was fine. I mean, nobody was against this. I'm amazed at it because I know the rest of the family. And, my uncles, her brothers were like Navy guys and real like Navy guys. And so they were kind of, shall we say, rough around the edges and some alcoholism there and just a bunch of everything.
I think we're related, Gary.
Well, it could be, Barbara.
No, we Americans really are tight. The way you're describing your family, and I used to live in Ohio, so it's possible we are related.
Where did you live in Ohio?
Mansfield.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
My grandmother had a boarding house. Oh, but this isn't about etiquette, right?
Well,
sorry,
wait.
Gary, go ahead.
Is Mansfield somewhere close to where you lived?
It's not particularly close to where I live, but I lived and I had a church in Loudonville, Ohio. Do you know Loudonville?
No.
Loudonville was near Mansfield. It was a canoeing place.
Isn't there a prison there?
No, there's a prison in Mansfield, though.
Right, I remember.
So take that.
I remember the trucks rolling by, these guys hanging out of it, and I'm like 4 years
It's
old.
a rough country. We're all related.
On one side,
Yes.
and on the other side, I had some cows.
Okay, and cows. Okay, a prison, a highway, and some cows.
Yeah.
It's Ohio.
Is that what Ohio like in a couple of words? Okay.
In a few words, that's a beautiful description. But anyway, so my aunt, somehow, out of this otherwise pretty ordinary family, she decided to become a career person. She was a flapper in the 20s, if you have to look that up. But a flapper was, just look it up. Flapper was a
Has
style.
fringe on the dresses. They're newly liberated.
Yeah.
It was a great time in America where there's prosperity.
The Roaring 20s. The
Yeah.
Roaring 20s. And so
right
she
before the crash.
I don't think she was a particularly roaring person, but she went and she worked for Standard Oil, which is Rockefeller's company, and which started in Cleveland,
Ohio.
Ohio.
That I know.
In this city. And but what happened was she became a very polite and sort of cultured person, which I can assure you nobody else in the whole scene was. This was the one unique thing. And so she lived in Shaker Heights, which sometimes people that even aren't from Ohio have heard of Shaker Heights. It's a rich suburb. It was one of the few original planned suburbs of a city that was then pretty prosperous. And she had a very nice apartment, and she was never married. And but she worked for Standard Oil, which means that was a good job. I don't know what she did, even some kind of office work, obviously. But in any case, so she had a project on her hands, both in the form of my dad and me, who were being raised by wolves, or the equivalent, right? Because the rest of the family was not very cultured.
Was that a successful project?
Yeah, we can't tell.
Well, it's been a long time since then,
Yeah, right. I would say that it was not successful. And so I just as an example of what etiquette is. So my aunt, her name was Anne, with an E on the end, A-N-N-E.
And with an E, there's a TV show named like that.
And so she was trying to teach me some polite ways. She's trying to teach me etiquette. And I was the young barbarian, right? The young
Exactly. What you are...
What do you mean exactly?
No, what you are narrating runs parallel to really the history of where etiquette comes from. It was a matter of women training these barbaric men to know how to behave around us because we were sick of your smell, your stink, your stench, all your bad behavior, and we had to teach you. Just look up that etiquette history somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow, Barbara. Right. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that on this heartfelt story about my childhood. But anyway, so she tried to teach me all kinds of things like this. And I was a poor student. I was not a great student. So she would, like, for example, when she would write letters to me, write a card or something to me, she would use a title. I was a little boy. I was 8, 9 years old, and she would title Master Gary Lucas. Gary
Yes,
D,
I completely
Gary
understand.
D.
Yes.
Which
My aunt
nobody
as well.
alive does anymore, I don't
Yes.
think. But she did it. And so I was supposed to do that, and I was supposed to, and anyway, so she was teaching me these fine
Well, those
points.
are our European roots to do that. Yeah.
And you were expected to reply in the same manner then.
Yeah, and I was expected to reply, for one thing, and like send thank you notes and things like that, which is also etiquette, right? If somebody gives you a gift, you're supposed to write a thank you note and put the address in a certain way. So it's all those rules, etiquette, in short.
So that reminds me that I had a wonderful aunt named Aunt Amelia, and I always called her Aunt Amelia and Cousin Amy. And I contacted Cousin Amy a few years ago, and I, sure enough, called her up and said, "Hi, Cousin Amy. This is Barbara. Do you remember me?" But the point is the title, this etiquette. And I tried to teach my daughter to call my sister Aunt, and she wouldn't do it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I always did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a barbarian, but but that much, yeah, sure.
So what if we talk about how the behavior norms have changed then? So can you think of something that used to be the norm, but now people don't do that anymore? And in general, how do you think people's behavior has changed?
Well, if we look at Generation Z, or even X, this notion of independence can go all the way to one side and say, okay, I don't want men. I'm strong enough to pull out the chair myself, and I'm strong enough to open up a door. But it's really nice for a man to do it. And I come here to Russia and I expect it. And I get doors slammed in my face. Thank you very much, sir.
For breaking my nose.
Yeah, thanks a lot. But I want to say, on my way over here this very morning, a young lad from school, a schoolboy, opened the gate for me, actually smiled at me, and I went through the gate. I couldn't believe it.
You should cherish these moments.
Oh, I did. I smiled all the way to this building.
That was an amazing once in a lifetime.
It was amazing.
Yes.
So
and the smile on top of it's like, what is that?
Yeah, right.
what is wrong with you?
Really? I had my Siberian scowl on, and then I looked up. Our eyes met, and he had this nice, charming smile. And so I broke into my American smile. Spasiba.
Oh.
Sure. Yes. Easy, Barbara. Right. Yes. Right. Yes. Right. Yes. Right. Yeah.
So,
I had a student here at the Big Apple School who was sort of a little bit unusual, but a very good student, by the way. And she would walk across in the park. She told this as just, what's going on? Tell me something interesting or whatever. And she said, yeah, well, I was walking across the park the other day, and I was just, smiling or whatever. And a woman came over to me and asked if I was on drugs.
I would laugh, and not believe it if the same thing had not happened to me.
Are you on something? Yeah, right. Yeah, what are you on?
Like I had a situation when I was on a bus, and I was texting, and in general, I was in a good mood. So I was smiling, and then I looked up, and there was a woman sitting, opposite, and I just smiled at her, and everything. And she just looked at me and started shouting like, "What are you laughing at? Is it something wrong with me? What are you smiling about?" I was like, oh, it's okay. Okay.
Wow, I didn't know things like that happened here.
I was shocked at the moment.
That was kind of beyond the limit.
Weird. A smiling person on a bus.
Yeah, right. That's
Like, where are you from?
That's right. What's the matter with me? Right? That's what she said. Yeah, you're smiling. What's the matter with me?
Yeah, she's like, is there something wrong? Yeah.
With me?
I was,
Right.
It's like,
you're
well,
okay, but what's with me that you're smiling?
I would be like, well, definitely there's something wrong, given that you've just shouted at me, for smiling.
Right. If it wasn't wrong before, it sure is now. Yeah, right. That's right.
That's actually, you've mentioned holding doors. So do you think this is a thing of the past now, or?
I
don't
hope
know.
not.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know.
No, well, Gary, I know that you'll still hold doors open for me.
Barbara, look at that door. Let's go try. If it didn't take us so far from the microphone, I would prove the kind of polite, despite that whole story about my Aunt Anne and the young barbarian, I would definitely, in front of these witnesses, right, yes. If we had, if this was a video podcast, we could put it on there, but we
will make a special episode just for that.
Yeah, right.
This is
Which
how.
will be 15 seconds of you holding the door.
With everyone being amazed at that.
I really hope that people will, continue, or some people will start holding doors, because, like, it's okay if there's a door, like that, but our subway doors, they're so heavy. I mean,
Right.
one
Yeah,
can
those
easily break a nose, if somebody doesn't hold it. So every time somebody doesn't do it, I have such an urge to just swear at them as loud as I can.
But there's
I'm
a
polite,
sign.
so I don't.
There's a sign on the subway
It says,
metro
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It says, hold that
Please.
door.
Hold that door.
Yeah.
Right, yes. Which people, like the people coming in the exit doors and going out the entrance doors, that also is the...
I did that one
It's
time.
so annoying.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
I
well,
did that.
No.
I got the verhod and the virhod mixed up. And so I was about to go into the...
They
See,
have
it's mixed.
different colors.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was just looking for the...
It's green if you can go, and red
I
if you
didn't know
shouldn't.
that. Well, I'll have to look this time.
Wow,
But one
Katya,
time there
these
was
are
a...
the real fine points.
I didn't know
We're
that.
learning a lot here today.
Yeah,
You're
so
welcome for my wisdom.
They don't even
But there
charge
was-
us for that wisdom.
there was a
we just come to
security
the
guard
podcast
there.
and learn all kinds of amazing things. Right, yes. Right. Walk out of here enriched.
Sorry, Barbara, for interrupting. See, we're not as polite as we might think we are.
No, that's true. Yes.
Well, as before I was rudely interrupted, I was telling a very short
Yeah, who
story,
did
very
that?
short,
Who did that?
concise,
Let's find who that is and punish them.
Spartan-like story, unlike some. I was trying to go into a door. I didn't know which one to go into. I saw one door and I chose one door. I realized halfway through it was the wrong door. I shot a left glance to the security guard and he saw me break the rule, and I smiled, and then
Did he even react to that?
yeah, because it was against the rule, because it specifically had two signs. I just couldn't read them.
Oh.
It was in Russian, you see.
Well, yeah, that happens with a lot of signs. Too many signs here in Russian. That's the problem.
Way too many.
Way too many.
When I was thinking about rules, that are not used anymore, maybe, I thought about the elbows on the table rule.
Oh, definitely.
So
Horrible.
horrible.
Yes, no, please don't.
Yeah, don't do that.
Why
Yes,
not?
Yes, because it's so impolite. It's like a farmhand eating, right? A farmhand will.
Always eat with the
Ohio,
elbows. Yeah.
a farmhand from Ohio
Right.
will
When
put
they come out of the cow pasture and cross the highway
Right.
for that big farm lunch.
with
of
which
half a cow.
my granny prepared, because we lived on a
Did you live on a
yes.
farm? Did you actually live in Mansfield?
Yes, my
In
grandmother
the
had
city? In the city limits?
no, she had a boarding house in the countryside. And those farmhands would come to this long table, and you better believe they kept their elbows off that table.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm afraid to imagine what would happen if they didn't.
Yeah, right. A lot
They
of
would have to
guys lost
contend
their
with
elbows.
Granny,
Yeah.
and she had a temper.
Some people.
But I mean, I would understand that. Well, as far as I know, the rule appeared when the tables were not stable. So if you actually put your elbows on it, it would kind of, shift and crash and everything would just fall off it. But what about now? What if you want to kind of lean towards a person,
Yes.
So you still would look down on a person who does that.
It's not good form.
It really isn't good form. It's not good technique.
Okay, so
So now we know.
write it down.
Right.
Dear listeners, rule number 1, hold the doors. Rule number 2, do not put your elbows on the
Okay,
table.
what about eating? Now, I don't mean to be crass or anything, but I call it 2 different methods of eating. The European style, which I adhere
of course.
to,
Yes.
and the
As a native of Mansfield, of course she favors the French approach. Unlike us from Cleveland, who are more the farmhand
Germany
style.
is part of Europe, so I'm including the Germans as well. And I'm a quarter German, so I can talk any way I want to about the German or the French.
And I'm from Yakutia, so I just, got my teeth into the piece of meat and
That's right.
Okay,
Right,
now
but tear it
the
apart,
other method is what we call the Catholic style. And there are a lot of Catholics in
Mansfield.
Kansas. And this is where the Catholics, and I can say anything I want to about Catholics because I'm 7th generation Catholics, French Catholic, so it doesn't matter.
it's like I'm 3% this and 1.5%
exactly.
that. I have the right to say.
I am pure American. I am a mutt. I've got all mixture of all sorts of things.
So yeah, but what are the two
Okay,
methods?
so
so what's-
European style is with both hands, one cutting and one stabbing with the fork, and you're eating like this with
That's
only your
European
forearms. Yes, it's European.
All right.
So technically, you don't even touch,
No.
the table.
No,
with-
because of the podcast, I was afraid to touch the table.
Yeah, okay.
But now I'm going to touch the table.
All right.
You have your forearms. This is called your forearm between your wrist and your elbow. It is on the leaning on your table, and you've got one dominant hand cutting, and the other one is stabbing with the fork, which you're putting in. The Catholic style is with one hand on your lap and the other one scooping it up.
Well, I must confess, although I'm far from a Catholic,
You eat
believe me,
Catholic style, don't you?
I do eat Catholic style. And by the way, everybody that I know, although there were no Catholics among them, they also eat that way.
I would say that nowadays there is a third style, which is you eat with one hand and the other one has a phone in it.
Yes,
Crawling
absolutely.
Instagram.
Yes.
Right, the international
Yes.
style.
Yes.
The digital
The
style.
digital style, yeah, I was about to say. So yeah, things are changing in how people eat.
Okay.
Although,
Sorry.
go on.
What about women going into restaurants by themselves? It was considered, you must be some kind of a wild woman to come into a restaurant by yourself. But nowadays, don't you go in and you sit there with your cup of coffee and you got your digital devices and
Easily. I mean, I go to bars on my own just with a
really?
book.
Oh, I'm so afraid to do
With
that.
a book to a bar?
Oh no.
Yeah.
A bar book.
Barbarian who reads a book at a bar. Yeah, I mean, why not? So,
But
let's
it's so
say-
dark. You must have
Yeah.
very good, excellent eyesight.
No, I mean, I usually sit at the, at the bar itself, not at the table.
Under
and
the-
usually there
under
are
the,
lights.
Under,
so
under the food heat lamp.
Under the-
Right, it's extremely bright. Right, the text warms
who knows?
up.
Maybe I have the, who has excellent night sight, like bats, owls.
Yes.
Maybe I
Owls.
have,
and bats.
maybe that's me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a
We'll
hot owl.
give you owls, yeah.
You know,
We'll go with owls.
reading. But yeah, why not?
I didn't know that. Now I feel freer.
Freya,
Yes,
you're
I can
welcome.
Go, I can go here and there, hither and thither.
Okay. All right. Well, we're being liberated even as we speak. Chains are dropping off. We have nothing to
Do
lose
you
but
hear
our
the sound?
chains.
Do you hear the sound? This is the sound of chains. being
Chains
dropped.
falling
Exactly.
away. That clatter, that metallic, crude iron clatter is of chains.
You know,
And what
falling
about a
away.
wolf howl?
Barbara, that's for you. All right. If you want to do that here, you just feel free. I'll still open the door for you at the earliest opportunity.
And speaking of, our behavior, we recently had a talk with a friend of mine about things that used to be the norm that we would totally do, but that would now in the, time of the pandemic would make us cringe. Like, shaking hands with the strangers or, when you were at some kind of a party or something, hugging strangers. So what else can you think of?
Well, I'm a semi-germaphobe anyway. So pre-pandemic, I really didn't like getting that close to people and germs. And I can feel like I can actually see stuff in the air. So put a pandemic on top of that.
So you would be like, can we please keep the 6 feet distance, after the pandemic
yes,
too?
Yes, so easy. Yeah. Because, let's wear masks, a whole whole body covering, like a net.
Right. Why not? Armor.
Yeah, let's keep
light
clean.
armor. Right. They've got new metals now that would make it quite feasible to wear light armor over the entire body. Let's.
And then if somebody gets too close, you can kind of,
bayonet.
poke them with something.
And no problem because they got armor on. Yeah, you don't have to worry about injuring people with your elbows. Yeah.
So can you think of something else that used to be okay and the norm and polite maybe to do, but now would feel weird? I could only think of like handshakes, maybe eating on public transport. Because sometimes, I would see people, eat something like, I do not know, some kind of a snack or even some kind of those little pies, maybe if it's in Russia. And in the US, people eating sandwiches on the train, on the way to work, on the way home was a norm. But now I cannot even imagine someone, eating on public transport.
Wow.
Taking off your mask.
I'm the other way around. I'm aghast at when I see someone walking around eating, because back in the day, we were to sit and eat. You're not supposed to walk around. So that's kind of like a generation even before. So it's kind of coming back around full circle now.
I mean, I would still see a lot of people walking and eating just because, the fast pace of life, maybe,
right.
Constantly running. But on public transport now, this is not something I can imagine now.
I never liked particularly eating on, especially not tramway. It's just sort of, no.
It's like you're trying to get something into your mouth and then the tram is shaking and you're like, I'll try to have a bite.
Right.
And then they're like, food everywhere.
Pirojok in every direction.
Yeah, oh my God. Do you know these crab sticks that are kind of like, there are 8 in a pack? I was once in, not on a bus, but, in a marshutka. And there was a man sitting next to me who was eating those crab sticks, and it was smelly. And I was just sitting like, why would you do that in an enclosed space with no windows open? Like, why? Do you hate people?
Okay,
so
that reminds me of what your previous question. Back in the day, if you went to college back in the 60s and the 70s, you could smoke in class. Smoke
you could
on
what
campus.
now?
Smoke cigarettes in class, in the cafeteria, smoking. That was something that was done at the
I had a
motor vehicles department.
I had a professor who would roll her female woman who would roll cigarettes in class while teaching, and of course smoke them
in class.
Yes. And even my
class,
ballet teacher would smoke in class and suck on his cigarettes, drawing the smoke up in his throat and exhaling for us dancers. Yeah. So that was back in the day. So I could not imagine anyone smoking.
Smoking is.
I did not even know that was ever possible.
Yes, you know what a smoky bar looks like. Maybe you don't.
That I remember because they banned smoking in public places in 2013, maybe in Novosibirsk at least. But I remember coming to a cafe or a restaurant, and we were asked, like, would you prefer smoking area or non-smoking area?
Sure, yeah.
But the thing is that non-smoking areas were usually on the second floor, so the smoke would still go, so you would still, feel it. And and right now, well, at that time, it seemed like, something normal. Yeah, okay, people smoke in cafes and you kind of have to choose, where to sit so that the smoke doesn't, come to your face. Now I think about it and I think, how is that even possible?
Yeah,
you were eating and somebody next to you was smoking?
Yeah, how is that possible?
But in class.
Yeah, in class and in the cafeteria. So it would be like a bar, smoke filled.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
I had a college friend that he was taking this philosophy class, and part of it was like Merleau-Ponty. It was, heavy duty philosophy, of phenomenology. And part of the atmosphere of the thing was everybody was smoking and drinking beer.
And drinking beer in class.
In class,
Okay,
absolutely.
lovely.
That was part of the romance.
lovely.
I never went to the class, but
Can you imagine,
But I knew it was
the prerequisites, like having a pipe,
right. Yes, right.
knowing how to smoke a pipe, Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
no pipes, no cigarette, and I wouldn't. It's not a pipe thing. It was a cigarette thing.
Oh my goodness!
Totally
wow.
cigarettes. It was not the
How
college
things have
thing with the
changed.
tweed.
I mean,
it was just.
I remember my dad told me that it used to be allowed to smoke on planes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Not long ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I cannot even imagine, but class
Yeah.
and
In
campus.
class, absolutely. Well, that was even the romance of it. That was they
Oh
they
my
were
goodness.
into it. Like 3-hour class, and can you imagine that, smoking for
No.
3
Yeah.
hours?
Can
and
you
this-
imagine what the ashtrays look like?
Oh
I mean,
man,
those
that
were
was part of
filled.
the romance.
Yeah,
with
that
the
is
beer
because they had
bottles and-
such
it was
achievement, a sense of
existentialist.
achievement when you can fill up your ashtray, get really big ashtrays.
What?
Yeah, look what I've accomplished.
Because you're dealing with existentialism. You're dealing with reality,
You're like,
man.
okay,
Yeah.
a part of the course is, scotch, drinking scotch
Yeah,
during the
no
class.
scotch, just beer.
Oh, just beer.
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I
wow.
think.
Just wow.
Yep.
I think I'm happy that nowadays, there is more of a trend maybe.
Right.
So of not smoking.
Yeah.
So when
it was-
people would sometimes would look down on you if you smoke, they're like, oh, come on, really? Nowadays, like you smoke. So that's a good positive trend, I would say. Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy that we're not allowed to smoke in cafes and bars and places like that.
Yeah, it's a big improvement. For
Can
sure.
you I wonder if smoking has ever been allowed in cinemas.
Oh, of course. Yes.
So you gotta
Yes. Of
look at the
course.
screen and there's smoke everywhere and you're like,
please. Oh my goodness. Of
blowing the smoke
course.
away.
1980s, definitely. After that, I don't know, but yeah, definitely.
Adding to your viewing pleasure, and I'm sure that they were wonderfully ventilated.
Oh no!
Theaters.
Do you remember, Gary? Do you remember?
I don't.
Oh my goodness!
I stopped going to movies in like 1981. So
Okay,
I
so
lost
in
track.
1981,
what
okay.
happened in 1981?
I became a Christian, so no more movie theaters. Seriously.
That is the most evil place. I know you've got to
Well,
avoid.
I would just look at some of the stuff or a lot of it.
Wow, but I cannot
I'll
imagine
defend that decision.
the smoke.
Yeah, and it's normal.
So, and do you think that etiquette norms are gender defined? So, what was the situation earlier and what is it now? So, are there special roles and norms for men and for women? And what about now?
I don't know.
Well, if you're talking about smoking, way back when it was a thought of being liberated, women were now lawfully allowed to smoke because it was against the law. So that's back in the 1920s, with the flappers, with Gary's flapper aunt. But the idea of being liberated, and what else?
I mean, there used to be a rule of not shaking a woman's hand. Like when you greet somebody, you were not
right. Well, you are not to approach a woman. If you're a man, you're not to approach a woman only through a friend. Could you please give me an introduction?
Yeah, that's definitely not the case now.
This is going way back.
And eye contact too. Women should lower their eyes.
Yeah, that's definitely not the case anymore. Like, definitely not. I mean, even with the, I remember when I was at school, we were told that usually, when a man greets a woman, it's not a handshake. It may be like a nod, something like that, but never a handshake, unless a woman,
I don't know.
Well, he would hold out his hand, palm up, and she would put her hand on his hand, something like that.
But now,
Right,
now it's not the case. So now,
No, it's not
it's
the
a new
case.
norm to shake hands when you meet a
I
person.
don't know when. Yeah, I think that in business anyway, by the 80s at least, that women were shaking hands. It was
Yes,
like
because we're liberated.
say-
We're out in the office world.
They say that now appropriate way to greet a person would be a nod because we're, in the middle of the pandemic. And I read some articles about how to behave, during the pandemic. And they said, if you want to greet a friend, do not hug, do not kiss, but, bump your elbows.
Elbow bump.
Elbow.
Yeah.
I've never done an elbow bump, but I have done fist bumps.
No, that's too close. That's too intimate. You got to get your clothed
Germs.
elbow. Yeah.
Fist?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Use a sanitizer on it first, then.
Right, yeah.
So, and what about the rules before and maybe now about who pays for a meal on a first date?
Right, yeah.
Did people used to go Dutch? Was the man supposed to pay? So what's the situation?
Always the man paying. But then the women's liberation said, I'm making the money now and I don't want you paying for me. Or if the man pays for you, then you're expected to give up something in return. That was a big thing. So if a woman pays for her meal,
right.
I'm just talking about.
Interesting.
It's better to just pay.
Yes, it's safer for
You're
the woman to pay.
May I pay for you're like, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that changed. It didn't used to have that
Connotation?
connotation. I think
Really?
that's recent.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. It was the man was to pay. And the woman could, I think, by the time this was an issue for me at all. It was, I think the woman could probably say, well, no, let's not, or whatever. You could do like that. But there was no sense of, man, I bought you dinner, right?
you owe me something.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
I
That's crass, but it's a crass time, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think in those things, it's particularly crass, right? Or I don't know.
It is crass, but if you became a Christian in the 1980,
Barbara is
1981,
doing math right now, calculating.
that means that you've removed yourself from a certain sects of society. And
It's true.
yeah, it's still prevalent, I do believe.
Okay. I think nowadays, it all comes down to what you agree to do. Because sometimes people can beforehand discuss it like, let's split dinner today. Like, let's go Dutch. Sometimes, if somebody pays, you just say, okay, thank you. But there is a rule right now, more like, an unspoken rule, that if somebody pays for you, you do not owe this person anything. It was their choice. Mm-hmm. So, okay,
The
thank
rule
you.
is, now that I remember this, if you ask someone out, two women or two men, or just friends, friends. If you ask the person, hey, do you want to go have lunch? It means that you're going to pay for lunch. That's what it used to mean.
Yeah, I think it's different now. It's just like if you invite somebody, let's say, to go together, then you pay separately for you.
Well, it used to be too that you could not go to a restaurant and split the bill. Do you remember? Gary, there's
Meaning just technically.
you cannot go to a restaurant and say the waitress comes and says, okay, this is your two separate checks.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. And so
yeah, now
I don't know how
Now
it
they
is.
do that.
Yeah,
now
I
they
guess
do that
so.
no matter how many guests you have. You can have a company
Really?
of 4
But
and you can say,
but it's a pain for the waiter, so or the wait person. See,
No, the server.
The server. Yeah, the server.
Yeah, we're still locked back in time.
yeah, well,
The server.
it might be easier they usually put, everything into one check, but then if you look at it, it says guest 1, this, and they put the amount on the on this machine, so you just tap your card and here you go. So since cash is not used that widely anymore, so they don't have to count everything, bring back the change or whatever.
I think I've been in Novosibirsk too long. I don't know these nuances. Are they doing this in Novosibirsk?
Oh yeah, sure.
All right.
And then, since people do not usually carry cash these days, everything is digital. Right. So if you can't leave a tip in cash, you may say, do you have digital tips? So you will scan a QR code and then transfer money for the restaurant. And by the end of the day, they would split the tips among the staff.
Amazing technology.
Yeah. So you can always say like, can I have a QR code for the tips? So yeah. Or sometimes it's already, on the check. So
I did not know that.
I didn't either. So I think we're probably going to talk about the way things were.
So what has changed within the last
1981? Yeah. How about 1981? Now there was a year. Right. Yeah. Now that was, you want to talk about etiquette? 1981. That was politeness. Right. Oh dear! Wow. Okay. Well,
things have changed, Gary. Things have changed since that time.
I'm just very surprised. That's all I can say. Yes.
So, and do you know anything about, let's say, behavior or something that is okay in one country, but would be considered very offensive in another country?
Yeah, there's a massive number of those things. Yeah.
Can you give an example of anything?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the things you read about, right? We've probably all taught a chapter in some textbook on like business etiquette in different countries. Things like, I don't know, in the Middle East or something, you shouldn't show the soles of your shoes.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yes, because the soles of your shoes are dirty, and you wouldn't ever touch anything with your left hand. It has to be your right hand.
Oh, I think it was the rule in African countries as well about the left hand.
Yeah, it was. It's
in Nigeria.
It's a Muslim thing, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was because I don't want to say why.
All right. You can look it up.
We know why.
We know why, but if you don't, dear listeners, just look it up. You'll find the answer quite fast.
Yeah. It has something to do with cleanliness.
It had to do with cleanliness, yes.
Yeah, and then that reminded me of something else, but now, like the Chinese slurp. Don't they slurp their soup and...
Yes,
that's
and eat in general, with their mouths open, which is considered to be...
Well, it's considered to be that they're enjoying their food. Look,
right.
This tastes really good.
I love this food.
But that is that smacking.
Listen to the sound effects.
Now, I don't mind animal smacking. I think they're cute. I'll turn up the volume on these little cute animal videos. But when a person smacks, I go crazy. I go ballistic with that.
I can understand you. Well, I mean, look.
Can you close your mouth, please?
Yeah, I don't like looking at people's... We call that... It's something that kids do.
Now,
show your food, yeah.
In the middle of the pandemic, it's also very unhygienic to do.
Yes.
So much the more, yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, I think by our norms anyway, eating with the big slurping sound is bad. And the open mouth and of course, in some cultures, right, you're supposed to burp after the meal to show...
really?
To show how... That's a compliment to the chef.
Oh, wow. Oh, I have never heard about that. Oh, thank God that it's not the case in here.
Yeah.
So, we Americans know that because we want to feel like we...
Right, we're citizens of the world. Yes. As I've proved over and over again in the course of this conversation, we are citizens of the world. I just want you to know. Yes.
I know
that we show it by knowing about people burping in other countries.
And the reasons why you can't use the left hand,
that's right. If it's terrible, we know all about it.
That's propaganda.
Well, it's because those movies in the 1950s failed. Total failure.
The government
movies. The ones that you thought you were sure. Because I don't even know why you thought that I surely had seen those government movies.
You have, but you just didn't know it.
I'm blocking. I don't want to remember.
These were...
You didn't even know you were being taught, about
no
etiquette.
Idea.
That's why I didn't learn, because I didn't know I was being taught. If somebody had woken me up and said, Gary, you're being taught, I would go, what? Man, I'm going to start paying attention. But nobody ever did that.
Well, and what about Russia? Have you noticed anything surprising or shocking while you've been here about how people behave?
Oh, no, I haven't noticed anything.
No, absolutely
nothing at all.
Yeah, don't look at me, Barbara. I haven't noticed anything.
Wink, wink, wink.
Right.
Wait, not.
Oh, this This is not. We're in mixed company, meaning we have some Russians in this room. Right. So we.
No.
Oh, you can talk ill about Russians all you want.
No,
I'll just nod.
We're not going to do that.
No, we're not going to do that. No,
Well,
everything
okay.
is very nice and very polite.
And very natural.
Very
Literally half an hour ago, you told us how somebody, slammed the door into your face.
I don't recall.
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember that either. Yes, all right.
Well, that was the result of our memory check.
All right, yes, another memory fail. All right. If you check us every half an hour, we fail half hour after half hour. On the half hour, we fail. It's just erased. It's gone.
So you have not noticed. Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to really reveal anything at this moment.
Right, at this particular time.
At this particular time. At a later date, perhaps.
Right, yes.
After
But I
the
have my
podcast
lawyer
without
with me.
microphone. Smart. Okay. All right. And what about
Right,
digital?
so that, we got rid of that question. Clear.
That would have worked twice, Gary. So, but what about digital etiquette? So what do you know about digital
Oh,
etiquette?
forget all those missed punctuations and those missed capitalizations and those.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a
Now,
comment about that.
I bet Katya is an expert.
No, but I mean, when you say about punctuation, the thing is that when I, let's say, send messages, I always use punctuation marks, all of them, including, the colon, semicolon, dash, all of that. And always. And that's why when I came to the US and started texting, it was a little bit confusing. Like, is it a question? Is it a statement? Like, oh my God, I don't understand. Because no punctuation marks at all. And that was really confusing. I literally had to ask a person, like, is it a statement or a question?
Yeah.
Where was no punctuation? In the States?
Yeah. Or sometimes, I would get a message with a question mark at the end, but that was clearly not a question, just a statement. People just would put question marks
Meaning
at the
that
end.
they're wondering something.
And it was really confusing.
I had to ask some younger people what TY stood for.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, that's, that and a lot of abbreviations like BRB,
BRB, I don't know.
be right back.
Be right back. Uh-huh.
So when you're chatting,
Yeah.
IDK.
Well, I had a huge aversion to this when I first got my first cell phone that had texting. My daughter had already been texting for decades. But then when I got mine, I got, oh, this is such bad grammar. I can't stand this. And then being an English teacher, now what form of texting do I use to my students? Should I be a good model? Or should I show them how cool I am? Or which one?
Barbara, show them how cool you are.
I usually do.
It'll amuse them. Right?
How people
The
will
students will love it. She's trying to show us how cool she is.
Let's be
And
like
look
her.
at all these mistakes.
Mistakes in coolness? Oh, horrible.
I always wonder people who write, let's say, THX instead of thank you, or just
I don't
TY,
like that X. I don't like that.
Or SM instead of so much. So people who do that, what are you doing with all the free time you have because of this? Because you don't write thank you, but THX. Like you must have had, so much free time that you save.
I'll say how I've learned how to do this, and I don't know that I've learned how to do this, but I just watched when I first, I had to put emoji or start over punctuating, with the
those.
exclamation points, but then I understood.
No, I love exclamation points. I love those.
Okay, well, everybody has their favorite punctuation symbols. Like Katya mentioned semicolon, colons.
Yes, who knows how to use those?
Yeah, right. That's right. That's real fluency there when you can throw those semicolons.
Or someone who's very undecisive.
And you're like, oh, Katya, you use all the punctuation marks, colon, semicolon,
No,
dash.
I do too.
Just admit it. You use them in emojis.
Right. Yes. Well, sure. Yeah. I just observed that. I understood it's another language, right? With the whole emoji and the punctuation, it's another kind of a language, and so you have to just learn how it works.
But okay, I have a question
first it
though.
was
So
strange.
emojis have, made their way to our life. They're everywhere. But Now it's kind of, debatable whether people are allowed to use emojis in their work emails. Because I sometimes get emails with emojis and I have mixed feelings about that. Like, it's a work email. We have professional relationships. So let's say, it would be weird to get an email from an HR or something like that with an emoji.
I agree.
So, but sometimes people see no boundaries.
Right,
maybe.
the boundaries are.
Well, it depends on maybe like here at the Big Apple School, right? I think that right. I think that emojis are okay. But if I were working for IBM, probably smiley faces and, shrugs and, monkeys covering their eyes. That probably, probably doesn't work as well,
Well, that depends on, what kind of formal and informal relationship you have with the colleagues.
Oh, and what about thumbs versus stylus? I would watch people have their certain method or their form when they text. Some can do these thumbs really quickly, but I think I have too much lotion on my skin because my thumbs don't work like that.
So you use the stylus?
Oh, definitely. And I must hold
you're
it
a stylist
or
person?
with one, of course, and then
No, I'm not, definitely.
Yes, and you're quick. I'm sure you're quick. I'm a lot slower, and then I make mistakes, and then I start swearing, and then I have to go back. Oh yeah.
No,
yeah. I have to put on my glasses, take my glasses off. Where's my stylus? Oh, it's horrible.
Wow.
I think I'm one of those digital generation representatives. So
putting the digits in digital. Yes.
That's what we do.
Double digital squared. Yeah.
What do you think? So when we talk about digital etiquette, there's one thing that people just argue about, which is audio messages. So when somebody records a message, a voice message. So what do you think about those?
Well, I'm impressed with them, quite frankly.
Right, yes.
Impressed. Okay.
Yes, I'd never received one.
Never. Oh, how lucky you
But
are.
no, I had not. My English, I had not, which means that I have now. So I had a colleague here.
Past perfect tense for you that are keeping score at home, right? You English students.
I thought I was pretty clear by saying I had not.
I missed it.
But-
Just the sound. I think I missed it.
But
I do appreciate.
But
the
I
use
had a
of the
colleague
past.
here who I received my first one, and I thought, oh, what a nice listen. Could cock your head, your good ear.
Put your good ear, put your glasses on to see it, to read it, and put your good ear.
So then I thought, how does this work? Oh, I see a microphone icon. I wonder if I press it, what will happen?
Oh, Barbara, this is so exciting to just share the
but do
feeling.
you hold it down or do you release it? That was the big thing. I didn't know. So let me try both ways. And who should I send my first one to? And will they receive this? Oh, and I still haven't learned how to delete anything that I've sent. So I've got to make sure I send properly.
You should learn that.
I don't know how.
That's useful.
Send out perfection. It's the only way. Yeah, right.
Gary, what do you think about voice messages?
I don't hardly get any. I don't know. I didn't set up my mailbox or whatever they call it. I don't get them. I don't send them.
Okay.
I assume that it's not working. In the States, when you get an account, voicemail is a part of the thing, right? It's just part of what you do, and you use it. But here, I don't ever use it.
Oh,
I don't know why that is.
Lucky for you. So, because voice messages, so when somebody records a message in different messengers, is so widespread right now. And honestly, it's very convenient for the sender, but it's absolutely not convenient for the recipient.
You have to take your own notes.
Well, you have to, what if I'm walking? So I'll have to take my earphones. And what if I can't listen right now? I'm somewhere, I don't have my earphones. Then the choice is either to, have your phone next to your ear, which is, that looks ridiculous. Or, to wait until you come home. And there is now an unwritten rule that some people still ignore, which is if you're sending a message to a person you do not know, or even a person you do know, but you have not discussed, the voice messages, then usually it's polite to ask, do you mind if I send you a voice message? And then if a person says, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Can you make it text? So then you don't send a voice message. And if a person says, yeah, sure, then you do that. Or if you have, a prior agreement. So let's say I have two friends and we have agreed that it's okay if we send voice messages to each other. So we don't have to reply straight away. Sometimes it would take hours, so it's like asynchronous, but that's what we've agreed on. But all in all, when somebody, especially, on Instagram, for example, when somebody I do not know sends me a voice message, I usually send them, this rule or, a link to the post where it says, voice messages. It's always polite to ask a person first. And then we have two categories of polite people and impolite people. Polite people will say, oh, thank you for this. I didn't know that. Well, do you mind if I send you a voice message? And the second category of people who says, I don't give a damn about that. It's convenient for me, so I'm going to do that. And you're like, well, guess who just got blocked?
Oh, wow. You are really wielding your power.
Yeah.
Well, because it's so, let's say if I have a lesson, then I have a 5-minute break. I don't have the time, to listen to this.
So people do this just because they don't want to take the time to write a text?
Right. Yeah. Because if you use a stylus,
As so many
long.
people do.
As so many Babylonians, Barbara's doing the Babylonian approach. They've just exchanged the glass screen for the clay tablets that Barbara got used to in her youth. So they're in
But
Babylonian
you're
south
right
of
that
Mansfield.
people just do that because they don't want to take the time to actually type the message. And
Wow, that's
Well, how can you really say anything against that when people don't?
right? Yeah, Katya. Yeah, how can you?
I can.
I think she was saying something against that, Barbara. How can she even do that?
Because it used to be that people used to actually ring you up in person.
Yeah, but then
and
if
call
you-
on you,
Yeah, I
come
don't-
to your
If you-
door.
yeah, but if you
Oh,
couldn't,
come to your
oh
door.
God,
Forget about
horrible times. Oh my goodness, thank God they're
What
gone.
are you talking about?
Oh, guess who stopped by today? Oh, Betty came by, and we.
Oh, thank God those days are gone.
Those days are
Really.
gone.
If I have, my intercom is ringing, I'm like, I'm not expecting anyone.
Oh, you know what my mom and I used to do, and this was back in the 1970s. We used to dive behind our sofa if someone came to our door. We'd
Yeah, that sounds
dive
like it.
behind it, and
We
we'd
do that every time.
we'd look at, is he gone? Are they gone? Who is it? I don't know. One time, Christmas carolers came to our door. Oh no! What are you going to do?
Right, yeah, behind the sofa. Yeah,
Like, get out of here.
right.
What do? I think we're supposed to give them a
take
penny.
your Christmas cheer and get out of here. We're behind the sofa. Leave us alone. Go be merry. Take your merriness. Take it somewhere else.
But speaking of these voice messages, it's very annoying when people send important information in them, because then if you need this information, you will have to probably listen to that again and again, to make sure
Right,
you got
that's-
everything
and
right.
take
bad
those
form.
notes.
Whereas if it's text, you just open it, you see that.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Right.
So, and I know some ridiculous cases when somebody needed, the information for transferring some kind of a payment for the service.
jeez.
And people like, oh, you can transfer it to 11, and then they gave like 25 digits. Like,
Wow.
why? Who are you?
Oh,
Why
that's
would you
not
do that?
nice. That's very impolite. We're
Well,
trying to have a
it's bad.
society here, and look.
Right?
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
That's more like bad business because,
Yeah, who would do that?
Well, people would.
A Generation Zer would do that.
yeah, wait a minute.
I'm not one, just so you know.
I was
Don't look at me like that.
I was doing the math. Yeah. Yes. Let's see. Generation Z. What was that again?
1995, though. We're talking about 1995. Being born in 1995.
It's Gen Y.
X, Y, Z.
Have you listened to our podcast on this subject?
Oh, really?
Yeah, we
Yes.
had one.
Well,
we
what
did.
were those American sources that you were quoting?
yeah, I think
Really?
I
so
think so. Yeah.
Gen-
well,
Gen-
I don't know. Yeah.
Gen Z, it's
I spoke for
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 the
whatever that
previous
generation was.
generations.
Yeah, for the much earlier. Before,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
for the
Generation
baby
Z then.
boomer. I was
2003 and
speaking
later.
baby.
Okay, so
Born in
then we
2000.
are talking about the Y generation.
Yeah.
My mistake.
So, and I would like to tell you about a couple more rules of digital etiquette.
All right.
So, apparently, it's considered impolite if you are having a meeting and then you have your phone on the table.
No.
And if you are waiting for,
No. It's
No, we are not doing that ever. No.
No, that is rude. That is rude.
So, but if you're waiting for an important call, then it's usually, polite to tell people about that and say, I'm waiting for a call, excuse me. So, and if you have a phone call, it's polite to pick up the phone and leave, go somewhere else to speak, not to speak at the table. So, and of course, it's impolite to talk on the phone in public transport, which some people still do, and that's annoying. I don't want to know the details of your private life. Thank you. So, yeah. And then there are people in social media and, in messages, there are people who write the whole message as one message. And then there are people who write, one line at a time. So it's like, hello, how's it going? Look, I have a question. So, and you have like 19 messages, which could have been, one message. So, and usually it's one of the digital etiquette rules is that make it in one message, and then in one message you have to state, the problem you have or something you want from a person. So save their time.
Thank you. I did not know that.
Are you the person who sends 95 messages?
Well, sometimes I think, what would the receiver prefer? Are they dull-minded enough that they actually need it to be separated? Or can they actually handle a longer?
So if you ever get a message from Barbara that's one sentence at a time, then the judgment that Barbara has made about your processing power.
Okay.
You're a one sentence
at a time person. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Limited processing power.
Okay, as long as it's not 15 voice messages, a sentence in each,
That's
I'm
right.
good.
Right. Individual sentences, yeah. Listen carefully.
Hi.
Right, yes.
How are you?
Yeah, right, yes. About
Scroll up.
Right, just pay close attention. I'm only going to say this once.
Yeah. Well, tell me, has there been anything new for you in this conversation? And what is going to be your main takeaway from this?
I'm going to stay away from
Gary,
texting altogether.
No, this time I
and I'm going to
say,
be knocking on doors and announcing my presence.
And then people from behind the sofa would say, we don't need anything.
Yeah, right.
Don't want anything.
Thank you.
Go away.
Right, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Barbara, that's an interesting takeaway from the episode, but...
Yeah, no, I learned a lot, actually, like beginning perhaps with the what was it, the Catholic way of eating? Yes. I never thought that may be the only Catholic thing I've ever done in my life was eat every single meal Catholic style. Right. I had no idea. No, and a lot of other things, actually, I can't think of them now because... Don't put me on that.
We'll have to listen to the podcast.
You will have
That's
to.
right.
You will have to,
And
Gary.
read the
Make notes.
the CC.
Yeah, make notes, absolutely.
And then, on our website, you can find full scripts of each episode, so you can, copy and paste.
Nicely done. Would that be found at
www.bigappleschool.com/podcast? Oh, so you are listening to what I say. Oh.
Always. All right, yes.
All right. I think my main takeaway would be exactly what Gary said about, two methods of eating, styles of eating. Yeah, because I had no idea. And smoking in a classroom. I mean, what?
Smoking in the boys' room. You remember that song?
I remember that.
Right,
Oh,
yes,
that brings back 1980.
Smoking in the boys' room.
Yeah.
I'm
We
sure
should
it's
attach-
on YouTube. It's got
we
about
should attach-
85
yeah, we should-
views or something. Who wants to listen to that now?
We should attach the song to the podcast then,
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this conversation. So that was the Big Apple School podcast. And today we discussed etiquette, found out, about Gary's family
Right.
and interesting stories from the past. We talked about digital etiquette and again, made Gary learn so many things about present days.
Yes, right. That's, our jaws are on the ground. That's all we can say is. Yes.
Thank you for listening. And remember, if you struggle to understand our conversation, you're always welcome to the website, which is bigappleschool.com/podcast. Yes, where you can find full scripts of each episode. So you can read it while listening, and that's amazing. So maybe you can even, make notes, copy, paste.
It
So
is
Gary.
amazing. By the way, I must say, we say that, but I think it is pretty amazing. It's pretty cool technology.
And actually, I do have an adult student who said how much she does listen to
Yes, that is so
how much she
sweet.
enjoys it.
All right.
So sweet. And dear listeners, if you have any comments about, something new you found out in our podcast, or some, comments about what you think is something we haven't mentioned, or, please share and leave a comment in VK or, on any social media, basically, where you listen to our podcast. And if you want to get more content, which will help you learn English, you can follow us on VK, YouTube, Telegram, Instagram. Just search our name, which is again...
Big Apple School.
Yes.
That's it.
So that was Katja, and my guests for today were...
Barbara.
And
Gary.
stay tuned, and we'll see you around.